Good day to everyone. This is Betting Weekly Live, Friday, the 20th of September. The weekend is approaching as you're with Steve Wyss, and I'm with professional gambler Neil Channing. How you doing this week, Neil?
I'm good, actually. I'm quite excited about this weekend. There's a hell of a lot of sport going on. I'm finding myself more into the NFL this year than I have been for a few years. And there's a big golf tournament at Wentworth. There's plenty of football, and the racing's good this weekend. The horse racing. So it's going to be hectic.
Yeah, and we've got plenty to talk about. We're going to be into a couple of Neil's picks in English League 2. I've got some thoughts, and I've got a really interesting corner angle in the French game this evening, and then we're going to be going through the NFL slate ahead of the weekend. Baseball, Neil. Have you ever bet on baseball? Is that a sport that's tickled your fancy?
Have I ever bet on baseball? Yes, I have bet on baseball. I wouldn't say I know a great deal about baseball. I have a kind of baseball guy who's pretty good, but I haven't really been doing it the last few years. I find that, I drift in and out of sports. That one, I don't know. It's the summer. It's so busy over here. I don't know. I like the baseball, though.
I had a crazy part of the email that the trader sent me today. And I'm not into baseball, but apparently a guy called Shohei Ohtani hit 3 home runs and stole 2 bases last night, becoming the first player in MLB history to post 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the same season. He was 30-1 to hit at least 2 home runs last night, and 160-1 to hit at least 3. And there was someone, one of the bettors on from Bet Rivers, he had a $10 wager on 3 or more home runs, and that paid out $1,600. So well done to that particular guy. There was also
I can't remember the last time anyone had 3 home runs. That seems like that.
It's absurd, isn't it?
Kind of mad, isn't it? Yeah,
incredible, absolutely incredible. So there were trading notes there before we start some bets. And League 2, English League 2. I know you do like a bit of. You bet more on soccer these days than you used to, don't you, Neil? In general,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely. I mean, I do bet on the Premier and particularly Italy of the top leagues, but in England I probably have more bets on the lower leagues, and I don't know whether I think the whole market forms around the Asian market earlier in the week, and it's formed around quite small money really, and the prices get really knocked into shape in a way that you don't necessarily see in the Prem as much. The first game I like is Colchester against Tranmere, Colchester United. Actually, you've got it the other way around. Maybe I should start with Notts County against Gillingham. It doesn't matter.
This is English League 2 on Saturday. Yes. So it's 2 exclusive picks here from Neil Channing on Saturday, English League 2.
Well, basically, Notts County, they changed the team around a fair bit in the summer, but they're scoring like mad. 17 goals in their opening 7 matches, and they're still unbeaten. They're doing really well scoring wise. Very good metrics, high league high XG, and it's a league where there's been good number of goals this year and goals to shot ratio. So I think it's a bit of a must win game for them. Gillingham are an interesting team. They've kept 4 clean sheets. They did all right against Tranmere last week, but that was a 10-man Tranmere. They won 3-0 there. But I just feel like Notts County is scoring a lot, and I think I like the price. Basically, I thought they're around even money, and I thought that was pretty good.
Notts County, on the money line here. Interesting. Notts County actually owned by some of my previous employers from years ago. So if you're watching, guys, hello. Hope it's going well there, Notts County for you. You like them on the money line this weekend there. And the second match that you're interested in here, Colchester United against Tranmere Rovers. Tranmere Rovers, of course, aside from the west, from the Wirral in the west coast of England. There, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I mentioned Gillingham last week, and so they basically Tranmere got into a situation where they had a man sent off and they lost 3-0 against Gillingham last week. And I just thought they were a bit poor, really. I quite like Colchester here. Colchester, where are we? They've played Notts County, Port Vale, Walsall, Carlisle, and Gillingham. So not the Tranmere have played those. Not the easiest start to the season for them, but they've been a bit disappointing, really. Colchester have probably been a little bit unlucky. They've spent a bit of money in the summer, and they won a close game against the MK Dons. They lost at home against Harrogate. And they drew against Accrington. So they've had a sort of a slight wobbly start, but I feel like they've been a little bit unlucky in places. And just in terms of the points you'd have expected them to get, just on the way the market said in those games, they're probably slightly underperformed. I thought they might be odds on here, and they're a shade of odds against. So I thought that was all right. Not, these are in all of my football bets. I'm not like having a gazillion on one match. I'm basically, I'll probably have like 7 or 8 bets this weekend on the football, but these would be my 2 biggest probably.
Yeah, welcome into everyone on the chat, and just looking through some comments now. Anthony Hopkins likes Arsenal to beat Man City on the money line on Sunday. That's a brave call. Big game there in the Premier League on Sunday. There's been a lot of interest in that one. Carl Sheehan asks, do you do college football, Neil?
I don't do college football. There's so many teams, isn't there? It's really hard to keep up with it all. And in terms of getting the time to get your bets on, it's hard enough to get all my NFL stuff on over the weekend. And also the English bookies, I don't think they're so keen on the college football. If you start hammering them on college football, I think it doesn't go down very well. The NFL is a strong market over here, though, and you can get decent bets on and get what you want on, basically. So it's much easier to bet on NFL than college.
Steve Gregory, puts up Yamal to score from outside the area yesterday, 14-1. That was a great tip, I've got to say. It was a great goal. He's a fantastic player, really is Yamal, one of the best young players in the world. Barcelona were very disappointing. We're down to 10 men for most of the game, but all over the place really defensively in that game. That was a great pick at 14-1. I'm going to just talk about a few games this evening in Europe. I'm going to start with Serie A. There's 2 games being played, Cagliari against Empoli and Hellas Verona against Torino. There's also a La Liga game. I've got no pick in that La Liga game. I think it's a really tough one, Alaves against Sevilla. Gun to my head, I'd maybe side with the visitors there. But in Italy, Serie A, I think Cagliari Empoli just screams under. Under 2.25 goals is likely here. I think Cagliari got well beaten last week by Napoli 4-0. And I think when teams get beat big, they're generally going to work on defense in training in the next week. You don't want to get embarrassed again. Empoli have already had 2 0-0 draws this season. A lot of people were predicting them to go down, be rock bottom of the table, but they're unbeaten, Empoli. So I think they've played a lot better than everyone thought. And they have faced some tough teams as well that held Juventus to a 0-0 draw last week. Cagliari haven't got enough goals in them for me. So it screamed out under 2.25. And maybe even the 0-0 detector could be in operation for those who do like to back the 0-0. But minus 110 for under 2.25 goals. That would be my Italian pick of the day, Neil. And moving on to it's a tough day, actually, for soccer. Nice against Saint-Etienne in France, and we've got Augsburg against Mainz in the German Bundesliga. The German game, I think, is really hard. I can't have a pick in that game at all. Nothing floats my boat. I really haven't got a clue which side's going to win that one. I don't trust either side. But Nice Saint-Etienne. Now, this one does interest me, and I'll tell you why, because it's the corners market. I'm just trying to find my notes, actually, for this game, Neil. Corners are difficult to predict because you don't know what the game state's going to be. And it's all well and good saying the favourite should win the corner battle, but if they go 3 or 4-0 up at half time, the second half, they probably aren't going to get many corners because they're not going to have to push. But logically, I think this should be a Nice domination match in terms of possession, the general style of attacks, shots and things like that. And they should out-corner Saint-Etienne. Saint-Etienne have been out-cornered 7-2 in both their last 2 games. And I think if you've got to look into the corners market here on Bet Rivers with a 0-2 start, it's effectively back in Nice minus 2.5 corners at minus 118. I think they could rack up a few here. And for an even bigger price, the minus 5.5 corner handicap is at plus 265 for a little bit of pizza money. I think they dominate in the corners market. I don't want to see them go into an early lead, a big early lead, because then the dynamics change. I'm hoping Saint-Etienne can linger at sort of 0-0 for a while. But I really do like the Nice to beat them in the corners market here. That would be my best bet of the day. Tough card for European soccer this evening. But France Ligue. I know you had an over system last year when we were talking on the live show in Italy, especially. Have you been back on that trail this year, or Neil?
Not so much. But I mean, just in the last couple of years, I think it's been a league for overs punters, hasn't it? Really, more than any league in Europe, really. If you'd have just there were a few teams that you seem to be able to just bet blind in the overs, but I haven't actually. The international break kind of threw me completely, and I haven't been doing a lot of Italian in the last couple of weeks, last 3 weeks. Really.
It's interesting there. Italian Mike's mentioned the AZ game. This is a Dutch match, which we don't really cover on because we win, but it is one of the bigger bets, soccer bets of the day. A significant 4-figure bet on over 2.5 Pegs Voller against AZ Alkmaar in the Dutch league there. Steve Gregory reckons Foden to score from outside the area 11-1 in the City game. That's an interesting take. Centre backs will be on Haaland and Timber shows inside. I mean, who can argue with the man who's just tipped for a 14-1 winner last night? And he likes both teams to score.
I never want to put somebody off an 11-1 chance. That's
you can't, can you? Both teams score no in the Spurs game. Brentford are missing. My namesake, Johan Wisser, is ruled out for 2 months, Neil. A big loss for them up front. So that might be one of the reasons why Steve likes BTTS no. Harry Doherty says Maddison assists against Brentford at the weekend. There's a lot of people getting ready to place their wagers on the Premier League for this weekend. The Premier League show is out on YouTube with Nigel Seeley, Jack Wright, and Dan Roebuck, and also the European Preview show is out on YouTube, so do check those out if you want. We've got a new website, which I'm going to link on the chat soon, and you can subscribe to a newsletter which will be coming out soon. I don't know the exact date of it, and I've got to find that website to actually put the comment in. But and also do remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you've not already. You normally say that on the Dojo show. The Dojo's a great show, by the way, Neil. Another great episode this week. But we're going to move on to a weekend of NFL action, and we've got some great graphics here, actually. Shout out to John, our graphics man, who keeps producing some brilliant stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. That's what we like.
Very good each week. So that's some of the matches on the early slate there, including Chicago Bears at Indianapolis Colts. I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest there with Bet Rivers bettors in that particular game. There's a fixture. The match I'm going to start with, though, is Tampa Bay. Denver Broncos at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've got
before we start, we were just talking but off air about it's been a sort of amazing start to the season, really. Yes. I mean, last week was, if you sort of assume that punters always bet favourites and over, it's been a terrible season for the punters and great for the bookmakers. In the first 2 weeks, underdogs of 6+ points won 7-0-2 against the spread. 5-4 straight up. Over the last 3 years, underdogs of 6+ are 20-13-1 against the spread. So people just wading into those kind of obvious looking favourites, really suffering. Last week, 5 games went over, 11 went under, 5 underdogs won outright, and the Thursday night game was also under, but it was the first game of the season where a 6-point or more favourite covered. So that's kind of surprising, really. I just had some stats here from the last 10 years. And And well, I mean, this was fairly amazing. Passing touchdowns through 2 weeks of the NFL. 2020 was 110. It's gone down every year, and 2024, after 2 weeks, only 68 passing touchdowns. Passing yards per game was 248.7 in 2020, and went down every year since then. In the first 2 weeks of the season, 193.2. I mean, I think I might have mentioned it on here before, but if I haven't, I'll say it again. I think a lot of that is because teams are so conservative in the preseason, scared of injuries. They don't really get the actual starters really playing enough time. And the first couple of the weeks of the season, for possibly some of the less well coached teams, are not really, not really getting it going in the first 2 weeks. It's hard for them to get the offense going. I saw another thing. The first time ever there's been more field goals than touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. 73 field goals in week 2, the most field goals in a single week. Amazing, really. Anyway,
why do you actually any theories why that might be, Neil? Are we looking at more conservative play calling?
I think it's perhaps? I think it's just quarterbacks not having played as much in the off season, in the preseason, and they're just taking a while to gel, and for the offenses to gel. I think that's just pretty much it. I mean, there's probably some other reasons as well. I think defenses are playing the sort of they play this too high now, 60% of the time, whereas in week 2 5 years ago, that was 38% of the time. So, that's a factor. Where else? What else do we have? There was a whole bunch of stats here. I got some help here with a lot of this from my good friend, Tight End, I call him. He loves all this kind of stuff. But anyway, so what was the game we were going to talk about? Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Now, just before I get you going here, Neil, this is the biggest wagered game so far on the card at Bet Rivers.
Well, it's not a huge surprise, is it? Really? I mean, it looks like a good game, and you got a decent favourite. The Buccaneers are a 6.5 point favourite. Those punters like that kind of thing. Normally, it's under the magic 7, but it's a decent favourite. Basically the Denver offense has had a bit of trouble. They've got this guy Bo Nix at quarterback. He's struggling to find receivers. He doesn't have a particularly good bunch of receivers. The bet I bet last week on Chris Godwin over, and I think that's my best bet this week. It's actually gone up a little bit since the lines came out. I think Bet Rivers, you had it on the graphic there, did you? I didn't catch it, but I think it was 67.5.
I think the line that line has now moved to 64.5. So over 64.5 can be minus 112.
Thanks very much.
Kirk Schroeder, I don't know whether he's your twin brother. He actually fancied that as well before he even mentioned it.
There we are.
Great minds.
Good man. Oh, he went over the catches. I was going to go over the receiving yards. I mean, they're both essentially the same thing. If you go over the receiving yards, you've probably slightly less chance of running into a bad beat where you could get a situation where you're one under the catches, but I don't know. I mean, each catch becomes very big in that bet, then, doesn't it? But
it's an interesting ladder here, Neil. Like you can go as high as over 89.5 yards.
Yeah,
plus 255. Is that worth a bit of pizza money?
Let me have a look. So you're talking about? I sort of feel like
21 more yards.
For each, I mean, it depends on the price. It depends on the line of the player. So if the player's like a sort of an 80-yard player, then I think for every sort of 3 or 4 yards, you can sort of go one price up. So 10 to 11, you can take 5 to 6, you can take 4 to 5, or whatever. When it's a 60.5 player, I think it's a little bit different. I would. Yeah, that sounds kind of good. Did you say 255? I think
plus
that sounds all
255.
right. I mean, I don't think that's terrible. I wouldn't put you off that.
No.
I mean, there's two things that are slight worries about the game. One is that the total is quite low. It's a sub 40-point game, which suggests perhaps that maybe Tampa won't score that many touchdowns. But they are 6.5-point favourites. I don't think Denver are going to score too many. There is a chance that Tampa go ahead. It's a bit like your corners bet you were talking about. There's a chance that Tampa get well ahead and then just kind of start to control the clock.
The backups might come in even, or they run the game out, I suppose.
That kind of thing. I mean, not so much the backups, but they're definitely controlling the clock and, not really spraying it around so much. Where are we? The Broncos run the second highest rate of man coverage in the NFL at over 51% in week 2. And in week 2, it ran it at 58%. Godwin has a 40% target share against man and a 23% share against zone. Patrick Surtain will probably get the most attention from he's the Denver cornerback. He'll probably give his attention to Mike Evans, and Godwin might get attention from the weaker parts of the secondary. That's the theory anyway. I think over here, it just looks a very solid bet. That's my best bet of the NFL this week.
Another match we're going to talk about is a divisional clash. NFC West, San Francisco 49ers at LA Rams. 49ers are minus 6.5 jolly favourite here against the Rams. I mean, the Rams have got injuries galore, haven't they? Everywhere. They've got big problems.
That's exactly the thing. So 5 of their week 1 offensive starters are either out or on injured reserve. Last week, when the internet beat me a bit, I was trying to say that we should bet over Cup. And Cup managed to get injured in the game, and that was a loser. So hopefully nobody heard me say that due to the internet. I mean, basically, it's funny because we were talking about the Dojo. We spoke a bit this week on the Dojo about the situation with Christian McCaffrey and the void bets and all this kind of stuff. So Christian McCaffrey is out, and that means that Jordan Mason is going to be, again, the most featured running back. So in 2 games this season, he's run 48 times for a total of 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean, basically, he's up against a completely banged up team here. The 49ers offense is a little bit one-dimensional in some ways. Nothing wrong with that. This is where their strength is. It's just going to be run, I think. And they haven't got prices yet with Bet Rivers. I've seen with some other books, the prices are roughly minus $1.50. I know that puts some people off betting the short odds. But I'm going to bet Jordan Mason anytime touchdown. I just think, he's going to score. He's going to have the ball in his hands so much. Maybe more than any player in the league this week. I love it.
His rushing line is 88.5. Jordan Mason at minus 112, which, I mean, that does feel quite high. But if he's going to be fed the ball continually, then that might be a bet that some quite like. Just trying to look. He's also got his longest rush. You can bet over 17.5 yards for his longest rush, which seems perhaps within his wheelhouse.
Any of that, I don't mind at all. The Rams in week 1, they gave up the league's highest rushing success rate by a wide margin. And then in week 2, the Cardinals played the Rams. James Conner is the running back for the Cardinals. He ran 21 times for 122 yards and a touchdown. The Cardinals in total rushed for 240 yards against the Rams. Surely Jordan Mason can score a touchdown given all of that.
Kyle Shanahan is 10-4 against the spread in his second consecutive road game in his career as head coach. So I quite like the 49ers here, minus 6.5 against a very banged up team. Got a good record against the Rams. And they're coming off a loss, which I think we talk about games, situational states, don't we, in American sports? And I think it just adds a more incentive
Well, I think week three is a big it's a big thing in week 3 to think about the teams that have to win. People tend to assume it's funny, isn't it? Because in English soccer, English bettors looking at soccer would say, well, if we're on the 3rd week of the season and a team's lost twice, I don't really necessarily want to be on them. NFL punters are like, oh, they've lost twice, they have to win, therefore I want to be on them. I think we're going to see a bit of that this weekend.
Biggest bet last night in the NFL was nearly $67,000 bet on the Jets -4 against the Patriots. That was a winner. Some others at the minute, some of the biggest bets ahead of the weekend. Broncos +7.5. That is the biggest bet. There's also on the flip side, someone has taken the Buccaneers for a big bet as well. The Browns against Giants under 39.5, 4-figure bet there. Nearly a 5-figure bet, sorry. And the Commanders +7.5. And the Bears, always going to be a popular bet with Bet Rivers, +1.5 at the Colts. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing with NFL. There's so many games to get stuck into, isn't there, Neil? I mean, it must be hard for you to whittle down your selections each week.
I don't know. It is exciting. I'm loving it, actually. There's 2 games on Monday Night Football this week, so that'll be good as well. It's hard to have a night off of it.
I've got a graphic for that, actually. I don't want to waste the graphic because John puts great effort into it. Jacksonville Jaguars at Buffalo Bills, Washington Commanders at Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 0-2, and that's a big thing, isn't it? No team wants to go 0-3, do they, to start the season, especially the teams that are, believe that they should be playoff worthy. The bad teams, it's a bit. Are these teams that are 0-2 worth backing in week 3 if they're actually any good? As a general rule, do you think?
I wish you'd have asked me that one before, because I'm sure I had a trend for that on how you would have done against the spread over the years. But I think it's a profitable thing off the top of my head. To bet the 0-2 teams against the spread. I seem to remember that one pays out for you. But I mean, I don't know. The way that people always talk about it, my instinct is to go against that, but I'm not sure.
Well, as a reminder, then your 2 best bets, Neil, for the NFL is Chris Goodwin on the over receiving yards, 64.5. We've gone with here at -112, and you're looking out for Jordan Mason, anytime touchdown scorer, in the San Francisco 49ers game at LA Rams. I've remembered now. There's the link there for the website. Do join and subscribe to the newsletter. It's completely free. My best bet of the day would be in France. It's Nice -2.5 corners at -110 against Saint-Etienne. And I'd say I do like Nice to comfortably beat them on the corner slate. Although it is a dodgy market sometimes. It's not like a banker on a money line or an over 2.5 goals. But yeah, that will be. Let's have a look at some more comments before we go. Good luck, Kirk, on all your bets there. Steve Gregory, Pacheco out for the season. That is a big loss for the Chiefs. Yeah, he did his ankling, doesn't he? So that's going to be interesting what they do. I think they signed one of their former players, Hunt, didn't they? So whether that'll be a running back by committee. Shakespeare's in with his MLB bet. Boston Red Sox over Minnesota Twins. -105 on the money line. Shakespeare. Loving that graphic there for your profile pic, by the way. And best bet of the weekend here. This is from, I do believe, our DOC, Mr. Seeley. It's the big fight. Anthony Joshua, round 1 to 6. Knockout, 2-1 against Dubois. I watched a bit.
Is that your thing, Steve? The boxing? I'm not really into it as much as I used to be.
Do you know what? I'll watch a big fight. It's the sort of thing. If I was ever out and about on a Saturday night, there's always someone who would pay for the fight. One of their outlets. So you go back to someone's house. I'd never pay for it myself. I'm a tight Yorkshire bugger at times. But a big fight. I actually watched the press conference for the Dubois fight, and it was quite entertaining, actually, in his own way. Joshua, when the hell are we going to get Joshua against Fury? That's what I want to see. I would actually. That is a fight I would pay for. I 100% would pay for that one.
It's such a ludicrous sport.
I bet you've bet on it a few times, though.
I've had a few bets on it. I've had a few. Yeah.
Well, good luck with all your wagers this weekend, Neil. And we look forward to a new episode of the Dojo on Monday. Sean
I'll be moaning about the NFL by Monday, probably.
Sean Calvert will be in attendance at the fight.
Oh, I love
because
it.
we were in Instagram, which I didn't realise Sean was into his boxing actually. To be honest with you, but wow, that's going to be some great content, isn't it? So do follow the Instagram account and follow all our socials as well. But that's it for Betting Weekly Live for this particular week. You've all enjoyed it, and we've had a few winners on the board. Hopefully, we can add to that heading into the weekend. But stay safe, everyone, and remember to gamble responsibly. See you next time.